the motivation for MBA was to switch careers, perhaps, and you get to a point where you don't see much growth in your current field, and to get that growth, you have to upskill. And I felt like MBA was one of the places. So my first test, I did go with TTP. I did my preparation through there, and they gave me a good base, but it wasn't all comprehensive. And I know one of my cousins, he'd done it, he's done his preparation through Top, and he recommended this. And I knew of Know the World from Sandeep's beforehand, and that really inspired me from when I watched like sort of the videos and my cousin was telling me about the entire program. So I decided to then go with Top, and there's a big difference in the sense where I felt that the top content provided the entire structure and entire knowledge of what you needed. So it was one comprehensive way to know everything. So it was great that I didn't need to then go into any other spaces to search for anything else. I got all the stuff I needed from here.
Hi, Agnat. How are you doing?
Hi, Karan. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Massive congratulations on that 705 score. I'm sure you would be feeling really proud about that score, given that you improved from a 575. So as we can see
Correct.
on the
Yes.
screen, you've been able to secure a 100 percentile score on the quantitative reasoning. Let me tell you that is extremely rare even amongst our students. And verbal reasoning stood at an 83 for you, which is in corresponds to the 84th percentile, and data insights at a 93rd percentile. So let's talk about how you felt when you saw this score crop up on the screen.
Yeah, I honestly, the first feeling I had, I was very relieved, given I started off 575. And even in the previous test, I thought I was doing good. And then you see the score and you get 575, even though my mocks were higher than that, like around 650 during the time. So I was sort of expecting it in that range. That was a big disappointment then. But the first feeling that came to my mind was just the feeling of relief. Okay, everything's done. It's a good score. But sort of honestly, I felt bittersweet at the time because I 715 would have been nice because it would have
Corresponded to a 99th
scared it.
percentile score, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yes.
But I was like in the moment, just take what you get. I was happy with the improvement. So
No, but certainly anything above a 705 can actually help you manage the kind of admissions that you're looking for. So it really doesn't matter.
yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see how we go.
Right, Agnat. So let's get started with an introduction of yourself. How did you get started with your GMAT journey? What was the motivating factor that led you to pursue this path of preparing for the GMAT?
Yeah, so hello everyone. My name's Agnat, and I currently work at a bank in Australia, in Westpac, and I've been working for around 5 years now. And sort of the motivation for MBA was to switch careers, perhaps, and you get to a point where you don't see much growth in your current field, and to get that growth, you have to upskill. And I felt like MBA was one of the places because I know my cousins have done it, and they were getting very good ROIs on their investment. They've gone into consulting and other big firms, which I want to go into as well. So that's where my motivation for MBA came in. And then after that, you need a GMAT mainly to get into MBA. So I started prepping my journey. I started in, I would say, May of this year. So it took me around 6 months to prepare for it in total. The first test I gave in August and didn't go too well. Then I took a bit of a break, took a month break, and then I started with Top in around in the August batch itself, and then just prepared heavy and gave my exam literally last week and got the score. So I was quite happy with that.
That's a really inspiring story. So, also wanted to know there are so many other players in this test prep space. What made you home down to top 1%?
Yeah, so my first test, I did go with TTP. I did my preparation through there, and they gave me a good base, but it wasn't all comprehensive. And I know one of my cousins, he'd done it, he's done his preparation through Top, and he recommended this. And I knew of Know the World from Sandeep's beforehand, and that really inspired me from when I watched like sort of the videos and my cousin was telling me about the entire program. So I decided to then go with Top, and there's a big difference in the sense where I felt that the the top content provided the entire structure and entire knowledge of what you needed. So it was one comprehensive way to know everything. In my other test preps, I knew like a bit of information everywhere, but over here at top, everything's just consolidated into one place. So it was great that I didn't need to then go into any other spaces to search for anything else. I got all the stuff I needed from here.
Yes, a lot of students really uh, compliment us on the kind of uh, detail in which Sandeep sir has gone to
Yeah,
curate the course. And there is honestly nothing that a person needs to do once he's taken the package. And I think it's a very comprehensive package which addresses everything. In my own prep
absolutely.
journey, I think conditional reasoning was something that wasn't covered by the other test prep companies which I embarked on this journey with. But I saw this, I was introduced to conditional reasoning only in TOPS content. So, from a content point of view, what do you think was the most helpful content that really pushed that needle for you?
I think without a doubt has to be Octave in RC. So before in my prep, I didn't know what I was doing in RC, and that was probably my biggest weakness, where I was pretty much a deer in headlights. So it just depended on my luck. If I understood the passage on the day, it would be fine. But more likely than not, if you get towards the harder questions, it gets really difficult to understand the passages and what the content from top, so especially the Octave, really allowed me to do was even if I didn't understand the passage, and that happened during my test actually. One of the passages had four questions which I didn't understand. And if I had given this prior to my top journey, I would have gotten all four wrong. But because of the techniques that top taught me, I was able to narrow down some of the options and I got 2 out of 4 right, which is still much better than the 0 out of 4 I would have received. So just understanding RC, how to function in the time pressure that you have was the biggest asset to me from top.
Right. I think Sandeep sir also talks about this concept of having a repeatable process in his Know the World series. And I think his
Yes.
entire Octave methodology is also based upon that repeatable process, which you can utilize and practice over, and eventually that settles into your muscle memory and things start clicking immediately. So I think Octave is something which really resonates with Indian test takers because uh, people who are from say the United States, they have this knowledge of having prepared for CATS and the ACT, the SAT exam and the ACT exam. In we haven't, as Indian test uh, takers, ever prepared for these examinations, and we don't have a
Mm.
correct methodology to follow. So in that aspect, I think this really helps. So how about the top portal?
Absolutely.
How about the
Yeah.
mock
Oh,
portal? How much could you navigate through the portal? Did you use it and finish it end to end, or how did you
yes. The
use the
mock
mock portal?
portal was brilliant. I used every single resource I had. So the best part about this was there was so many tests to do, and you had so many opportunities to practice in time conditions. Is you were able to go through every single scenario during the test, what could happen. For example, in one of the tests I did, I would spend like 5 to 7 minutes on the first question, not realizing because you're so focused, and then you realize afterwards you don't have enough time for the rest. So just going through these different experiences and different tests that the top mock portal had, I felt like during the exam I was prepared for most of the situations on what can happen. So that really gave me confidence. And another thing that really helped my stamina in just focusing and concentrating were the long sittings actually for both SIA and RC. Just sitting down and going through those 100 questions in a 3 hour span, it is very mentally draining, but it is also very worth it to the point you feel like the 2.5 hours after that did not feel super long as a test. And you were just stamina wise and mental concentration wise, just prepared to do your job.
So could you walk us through how many full-length mock tests did you appear for before the examination, and how many official mocks did you blend in your complete preparation?
Yes, so my entire prep, my full marks would have been all of the 8 plus the diagnostic test that Top Portal provides. I did 2 from the official guide, and I also did 1 or 2 from other companies. I can't really remember the name. And also for further questions, I went to GMAT club just to practice more mathematics and critical reasoning questions, especially from there. So all of the breadth of these content really helped me in getting a decent score.
It clearly shows up on your score that you've put in a lot of practice, and that is what we have as a recommendation for all our other students, that you don't want to go into the exam not fully prepared. So having completed the eight full length mock tests, I'm sure you would have been completely geared to take on the real beast. So
Yeah, and the top mock tests are much harder, so it prepares you very well. So once you've really mastered the harder tests, the other official tests don't feel as hard, and which
absolutely,
gives you comfort in one
100% agree.
sense.
So going by your percentiles, you've
Mm,
secured a 93 percentile on the data insight section. So were you
mm.
always very good at data insights, or was there anything that any particular content that you covered that really uh, assisted you in securing that 93rd percentile score?
For me, data insights was a very up and down journey. I would have phases where one month I was very good at data sufficiency, and then another month I would just get the questions wrong for some reason. And my worst part was probably multi-source reasoning. I think it would be for a lot of students where you have to just read all of the data up front and just answer questions afterwards, undertaking the time. So it's sort of like an RC passage and just going through the different questions that you had. So with how improvement came was just practice and just being aware. I feel like in data insights, it's very easy to get lost in the content. You just need to be talking to yourself. Okay, this is what the information is telling me. This is what the question's asking for, and not rely on your intuition. Where I was going wrong is I was thinking whatever I remembered was the right thing, and I wasn't checking back at the passage, which was a big mistake. And a lot of my mistakes stemmed from that. So I had to work over time to just fix those errors. And it really paid off afterwards because multi-source reasoning didn't become a big issue afterwards. And I was comfortable with the entire question sets.
Right, Agnat. Agnat, there's this one complaint that all Indian test takers have, which is we are working professionals. We don't have
Mm.
the time to manage GMAT on the side, and things in life can become really challenging to cope up with. Considering that even you're a working professional and even you had a lot going on in life, how did you navigate this entire journey, and how did you keep yourself motivated to put in the hours to receive this fantastic score?
Yeah, listen, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. It is hard. It is a dedication and it is a sacrifice that you need to go through. I think at least studying 2 to 3 hours daily is super important. And I would like to emphasize on the word daily because well, in my initial practice run, I was very inconsistent. I would study for 3 hours one day, then not study for the next 2 days. And maybe on the weekend, I would do a 6 hour study shift. So I would make up the hours. But the fact that I wasn't doing things daily, really, I didn't really see big improvements during that time. But after joining top, the recommendations is following the entire sets. I sort of just brought in that consistency, and it does take sacrifice. Like you're tired after work, even before work, if you have time, just go through some questions. So it's about just being in that mindset that something is better than nothing. And you have to just keep pushing forward and look at the end goal. Like this is for your future. You are trying to achieve something that's very difficult. It will require time and sacrifice. And I feel like if you're okay with the why, then you'll be able to push through.
I really like that line. If you're okay with the why, you'll really be able to push through. So, what changed for you in your prep when you secured a 575? How did you take it on to a 705? What there would have been some introspection that would have gone into the process, after which you would have realized that you need to do things a little differently. So, could you touch base upon that?
Yeah. I think I took the test quite lightly the first time. I saw a few YouTube videos and they were like, I got 725, like 2 week prep. So initially I thought it's not going to be that hard. And there was sort of that overconfidence that may have popped up. And during the official mocks, I was fine with how everything was going. I was getting good scores. around 655, 665 was the average. But then I feel like on the test day, I just got unlucky. And I didn't know about getting multiple questions wrong would drag your score down. That's what happened. I probably got three in a row wrong in each of the sections. And that just took out my entire score. Even though the the score I got, like say in quant, I got 16 out of 21 questions right, which would have been a higher percentile if they were scattered across. But since I got three in a row wrong, that really dragged my score. And I just didn't know these things prior to going into the test. So after joining top, after getting the information, and after going through the classes, you sort of realize how like consistently everyone else is studying as well, and what sort of the effort everyone else is putting. And well, I was part of a batch where in one of the classes from Tanish sir, I remember no one came prepared. And then both Tanish sir and Sandeep sir got mad, and sort of Sandeep sir gave us all a message to be really serious. And I felt like that really hit me deep, where I realized the amount of effort I need to put. And the way he explains everything is just so brilliant, where it got to me. And after that, I said, okay, no, this is not right. I need to give my consistent hours every day. And you just pile up hours and hours and hours, and over time, you'll definitely see results.
That's so inspiring. Listening, it's so inspiring to hear that from you.
Mm.
We've not had
Yeah.
any other student express it in such with
Yeah.
such clarity of
Yeah.
what sort of a difference can it make to have Sandeep sir really push those students in their final
Yeah.
sprint towards their 700 plus score.
I'm
So
being honest, that's what pushed me. Like I was taking it lightly beforehand, like not coming prepared to the classes. And as soon as he sort of gave us a little bit of a scolding that was much needed, after that things just flipped
So you
and
need to have
success
a
came up.
mentor also in this entire journey. Otherwise, life can take over and people can tend to get complacent. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
so Agnat, to wrap this up, what would be some of your do's and don'ts that you would want to recommend to future test takers who are going through this conversation that we are having?
Some do's and don'ts. Our first do is do not take this lightly. Like if you're a working professional like I was and you haven't studied in a while, it will take 2 to 3 months just to get the mental concentration to do the exam. So when I heard people saying online that they were able to get such a good score in a 1 month or 2 months time, and maybe they did, right? But I would say there were more outliers than the normal. And majority of the time, we won't be the outliers. So just prepare for yourself that this might be a 3 to 6 months or even a longer journey. I was initially under the impression that, okay, if I just give 2, 3 months, I'll just get the score I want and it's all going to be rosy. But that wasn't the case. And reality is quite different. So just be prepared for that. That would be one. Do also just be consistent. Now, this everyone would give you this advice, but there's no substitute for consistency. Like daily practice is a must, and focus on where you're getting things wrong. And another do would be as you're doing the question, don't actually do it based on your intuition. Keep your brain active and actively think about what you're doing and what does the question mean in the moment of time. And I know time pressure is very hard to do, but if you don't, it's a very logical test, GMAT. And once you start using intuition, you will start getting questions wrong. So you have to keep your brain very hyperactive. And the last one, I would say, do a lot of timed practice. Like a lot. Everything is timed because time just changes everything. Where you just start feeling the pressure of, oh, you don't have enough time, and you start making silly mistakes. And silly mistakes are the ones that will drag your score down the most. So I would like those would be some of the tips I'd like to provide to the future test takers.
These were all the do's, I think, right?
Do's.
Any
Yeah,
don'ts
do's
that
and
come to
don'ts,
mind?
man. Yeah, don't take it lightly. Like it does, it is a hard test overall. But I feel like everyone can do it with enough effort put. And other don'ts, I feel like I can't think of any more don'ts. Like
Right. I
it's,
mean, all of that
it's
was so informative. Everything that you said made absolute sense. And thanks once again for doing this, and wishing you all the best for the future, and hoping that you make into all the colleges that you shortlisted. Once again, we at Top 1% are incredibly proud of your achievements. Even Sandeep sir was conveying his regards, and we are mighty impressed by your score and your consistency and the effort that you put in for this test. Thank you once again for doing this.
No, thank you to the top team. I really appreciate the efforts and the lengths the entire team has gone through to set the structure and for students. And it is a successful program. And I really appreciate everyone from the team that has helped me with my journey.
Right, Agnat, have a great day ahead.
Thank you very much. Have a nice one.
All right, bye.